What if I told you the shadiest, most useless corner of your yard is actually some of the most valuable growing space you have? Most gardeners look at shade and think no sun equals no garden. But that's the mistake, because some of the most expensive, most nutritious, and most in-demand crops on the planet don't want full sun. They prefer shade. Some even need it to thrive. By the end of this video, you'll know the 12 crops that turn shade into an advantage. And a few of these will genuinely surprise you. One sells for over $100 a pound. Another has been used in medicine for 5,000 years. And number 12 is one of the only fruiting trees that can handle shade, is extremely delicious, and grows in zone 5 and up. Let's get into it. Top 1, ramps. Let's start with the one that'll make your jaw drop. Ramps, also called wild leeks. These unassuming little plants look like lily of the valley and smell like garlic. And at high-end farmers markets and restaurants across North America, they sell for $20 to $30 a bunch, and sometimes more. Chefs go absolutely crazy for them. Every spring, top restaurants feature ramp season on their menus like it's a holiday, and foragers guard their ramp patches like buried treasure. Here's the secret. Ramps are woodland plants. They grow naturally on the shaded floors of hardwood forests. They hate full sun. Give them dappled shade under deciduous trees, oaks, maples, birches, and rich, moist soil with lots of organic matter. And they will come back every single year and spread slowly on their own. The catch is that ramps are slow. It takes 5 to 7 years to establish a truly productive patch from seed. But here's the trick most people don't know. You can buy ramp bulbs or transplants and cut the time in half. Once they're established, you barely touch them. They're perennials. They come back forever. Never harvest more than 1 leaf per plant, and never harvest more than a third of your patch in any given year. Let them spread. In 10 years, you'll have a patch that pays you back every spring without replanting. One more mind-blowing fact. Ramps were one of the primary spring foods for indigenous peoples across eastern North America. They're not some trendy foodie discovery. They have a 10,000-year track record. Now, before we go further, here's something worth understanding about why so many of these crops prefer shade. Most of them evolved under forest canopies in the shadow of mountains, beside streams tucked under thick tree cover. These plants didn't just survive in low light. They thrived in it, and over thousands of years, humans discovered that a lot of them are also extraordinarily useful. So when you plant these crops in your shaded yard, you're not working against nature, you're working exactly with it. Keep that in mind as we go through the rest of this list. Top 2, ginger. You've bought ginger at the grocery store. You've probably paid $5, $6, even $7 a pound for it without thinking twice. But did you know you can grow it in a shaded garden bed and harvest it yourself? Ginger is a tropical understory plant. In the wild, it grows beneath dense tree canopies in Southeast Asia, where it gets filtered indirect light. It does not want direct afternoon sun that actually scorches its leaves and stunts the rhizome growth underground. What it wants is warm temperatures, consistent moisture, rich organic soil, and shade. Here's the trick most beginner growers miss. Start with grocery store ginger. Buy a piece with visible eyes, those little growth nodes on the surface. Soak it overnight, then plant it about 2 inches deep in a shaded raised bed or pot. Keep it moist. Within a few weeks, you'll see green shoots emerging. Ginger takes about 8 to 10 months to fully mature. But you can do what's called green harvesting, pulling small pieces as early as 4 months for a milder, more tender flavor that chefs actually prefer and pay a premium for. Here's the bonus that most people never hear. Ginger is one of the most studied medicinal plants on Earth. Over 3,000 peer-reviewed studies have examined its anti-inflammatory, anti-nausea, and immune-boosting properties. It contains over 400 different chemical compounds. Growing your own means you get the freshest, most potent version of this medicine right from your backyard. Top 3, turmeric. Same family as ginger, same growing conditions, same wild backstory, but somehow even more valuable per pound. Fresh turmeric sells for $8 to $12 a pound at health food stores, and organic fresh turmeric goes for even more. Meanwhile, turmeric supplements are a multi-billion-dollar global industry. The active compound curcumin is one of the most researched natural compounds in existence. It's been used in Ayurvedic medicine for over 5,000 years, and modern research confirms its powerful anti-inflammatory effects. Grow it exactly like ginger, partial to full shade, warm and humid conditions, rich soil, consistent water, plant rhizomes from a health food store in spring, harvest in fall when the leaves start dying back. Here's the fact that blows most people's minds. Fresh turmeric is 100 times more bioavailable than dried turmeric powder, meaning your body absorbs the beneficial compounds far more efficiently from the fresh root you grow in your shady garden than from any supplement you buy. That's not marketing, that's biochemistry. Top 4, spinach. Now let's talk about something you can harvest in 6 weeks. Spinach is one of the most popular vegetables in the world, and almost nobody knows it's a shade-preferring crop. Most people plant it in full sun and then wonder why it bolts to seed within a month. Here's the truth. Spinach evolved in cool, mountainous regions of Central Asia. It doesn't like heat. It doesn't like intense direct sun. When temperatures rise and sun beats down on it, it triggers a biological survival response. It thinks the season is ending and rushes to produce seeds. That's called bolting. And once it bolts, all the leaves turn bitter and the plant is essentially done. The shade solution is simple. Plant spinach in a spot that gets morning sun and afternoon shade or under a tree with dappled light. This mimics its native habitat. The leaves stay tender, the plant stays vegetative, and your harvest window extends by weeks or even months. In a shaded spot, you can grow spinach all the way into summer in many climates when everyone with a full sun garden has already lost theirs to heat. Spinach is also one of the most nutrient-dense plants on Earth. Per calorie, it's one of the highest sources of iron, calcium, folate, and vitamins A and K that you can grow. Top 5, mushrooms. Okay, this one isn't technically a crop in the plant sense, but it belongs on this list more than almost anything else because it's the ultimate shade grower and one of the most profitable things any home gardener can produce. Oyster mushrooms, shiitake, lion's mane, wine caps. These are not just food. They're functional medicine. They're gourmet ingredients. They're the subject of cutting-edge neuroscience research. Lion's mane, for instance, is being studied for its ability to stimulate nerve growth factor, a protein crucial for brain health and neurological repair. And here's what blows most people's minds. You don't grow mushrooms in soil. You grow them in wood, logs, sawdust blocks, straw bales. You literally inoculate a piece of wood with mushroom spawn, keep it moist in a shaded spot, and it produces food for years. For shiitake on logs, you drill holes in a hardwood log, pound in mushroom plugs, seal with wax, and lean the log in a shaded, humid corner of your yard. It'll start fruiting in 6 to 18 months and continue for 4 to 6 years. Wine cap mushrooms, also called garden giants, might be the easiest of all. You spread spawn on a bed of wood chips in a shaded area. That's it. They fruit prolifically. They improve your soil as they break down wood material, and they can spread on their own. The economics are staggering. Gourmet mushrooms sell for $10 to $30 a pound. One productive shiitake log can produce 2 to 4 lbs of mushrooms per year for 6 years. A shaded corner with 10 logs is a serious income stream. Top 6, miner's lettuce. Here's a wild one with a wild history. Miner's lettuce got its name because gold rush miners in California ate it to prevent scurvy during harsh winters. It grows wild in cool, shaded, moist environments, and it's absolutely packed with vitamin C. Today, it's a specialty green that appears on tasting menus at high-end restaurants for its unusual appearance and delicate, almost water chestnut-like flavor. Those round leaves with the stem growing right through the center look almost unreal on a plate. It grows from seed in about 40 days, thrives in shade and cool temperatures. It self-seeds prolifically, meaning once you plant it once, it comes back on its own year after year, and it's essentially maintenance-free. For the home grower, this is one of the fastest, easiest, and most interesting crops you can add to a shaded bed. For anyone selling at a farmer's market, it's a conversation starter that sells itself. Top 7, sorrel. Sorrel is the crop that professional chefs know about and almost nobody else does. It's a perennial. Plant it once and it comes back every year larger and more productive. It tolerates shade beautifully. In fact, in full sun, it tends to get stressed and bolt in summer heat. The flavor is extraordinary, bright, lemony, almost electric. It comes from oxalic acid in the leaves, the same compound that gives it a sour punch. Chefs use it in sauces, soups, and salads. In France, sorrel sauce with salmon is a classic that's been on menus for centuries. Here's the growing secret most people miss. Sorrel in the shade produces more tender, less acidic leaves than sorrel in full sun. Because lower light means the plant produces oxalic acid more slowly, you actually get a better product from the shade. Harvest the outer leaves continually and the plant just keeps growing. You almost can't kill it. It's drought tolerant once established, cold hardy, and completely deer resistant. Top 8, hostas. Wait, hostas? The ornamental plant everyone grows for landscaping? Yes, and here's the thing that will blow your mind if you didn't already know this. Hostas are edible in Japan. Hosta shoots called uroi are a traditional spring vegetable. They're harvested when they're just emerging from the ground in early spring before the leaves fully open, and they're eaten boiled, grilled, or in soups. The flavor is mild, slightly sweet, similar to asparagus. Hostas are one of the most shade-tolerant plants that exist. They're almost impossible to kill. Many people already have them growing in their yard without realizing they're sitting on an edible perennial crop. The varieties with the thickest, most upright shoots are the best for eating. Calcium, some, and substance, and elegance are often recommended. One important note, only eat your own hostas if you've confirmed they haven't been treated with pesticides, and always cook them. Raw hostas can cause mild digestive irritation. This crop costs nothing if you already have it. It produces every spring forever, and almost nobody knows it's food. Top 9, wasabi. And now the one that'll make your eyes go wide, real wasabi. Wasabia japonica. Fresh wasabi rhizomes sell for $70 to $160 per pound. In some markets, even more. It's one of the most expensive food crops on earth, and it's almost impossible to buy unless you're near a specialty Japanese grocer or a very high-end restaurant supplier. Why is it so rare and expensive? Because it's brutally hard to grow in conventional conditions. It needs cool temperatures in between 45 and 70 degrees F. It needs high humidity. It needs clean, constantly flowing water, or at minimum extremely moist, well-drained soil. And it needs deep shade. In the wild, wasabi grows along cool mountain stream banks in Japan under the canopy of forest vegetation. Direct sunlight will kill it. High temperatures will kill it. Bad drainage will kill it. But here's the opportunity. If you have a cool, shaded, moist corner of your yard, especially in the Pacific Northwest, the UK, parts of Canada, or cooler mountain regions of the US, you have exactly the microclimate wasabi needs. It takes 18 months to 2 years to produce harvestable rhizomes. But the leaves and stems are also edible and can be harvested along the way. And here's the fact that will genuinely change how you think about every piece of sushi you've ever eaten. Up to 99% of the wasabi served at sushi restaurants is not real wasabi. It's a mixture of horseradish, mustard, and green food coloring. The flavor compounds in real wasabi, called isothiocyanates, are so volatile that they dissipate within 15 minutes of grating. So fresh, backyard-grown, wasabi grated moments before eating is an experience that virtually nobody outside of Japan has ever had. Grow it. Experience something almost no one else on earth gets to eat fresh. Top 10 cardamom. Most people think of cardamom as an exotic spice they buy in a tiny jar at the grocery store for $5 or $6. What almost nobody realizes is that cardamom is a shade-loving plant and one of the most valuable spices on earth by weight, sitting right behind saffron and vanilla. Cardamom is native to the forest floors of southern India and Sri Lanka, where it grows naturally under the dense canopy of tropical trees. It evolved in near total shade. It does not want direct sun. Planted in full sun, and it struggles, scorches, and barely produces. Planted in deep, humid shade with rich soil and consistent moisture, and it becomes a productive, long-lived perennial that fruits year after year. The pods are harvested by hand, which is exactly why high-quality cardamom is so expensive. A single plant can produce pods for up to 10 years once established. Here's the mind-blowing part. Cardamom has been traded as a luxury spice since ancient times. It was used in Egyptian embalming rituals. Vikings brought it back from Constantinople. And today, the world's largest consumer of cardamom is not India, where it's grown. It's the countries of the Middle East, where it's ground into coffee and consumed daily as a symbol of hospitality. In cooler climates, cardamom can be grown in a large pot and overwintered indoors. In warmer zones, anything above USDA Zone 8, it can live outside year-round in a shaded spot. The plant itself is stunning to look at, tall, lush, tropical. Most people assume it's just an ornamental. Little do they know it's making them expensive spice at the same time. Top 11, groundnuts. This one might be the biggest surprise on the entire list. And when you understand what it is, you'll want to go find some immediately. Groundnuts. Also called hopnus, Indian potato, or by their scientific name, Apios americana. These are not peanuts. Groundnuts are a native North American vine that grows wild in shaded, moist woodland areas across the eastern United States and Canada. Indigenous peoples across the continent relied on them as a staple food for thousands of years. When the Pilgrims arrived and faced their first brutal winters, groundnuts are widely believed to have saved them from starvation. The plant produces clusters of small, starchy tubers underground. Like a string of edible beads buried beneath the soil, they taste like a cross between a potato and a chestnut. Rich, nutty, slightly sweet. And here's the nutritional fact that drops jaws. Ground nuts contain roughly 3 times the protein of a regular potato. 3 times. They were for many indigenous communities one of the primary protein sources in their diet. The vine itself grows happily and partial to full shade, winding up fences and through shrubs. It's a nitrogen fixer, meaning it actually improves your soil as it grows. Just like beans. It's drought-tolerant once established. It's perennial, coming back every year and producing more tubers as the clump expands. You can eat them boiled, roasted, fried, or mashed. The flavor gets better after the first frost, and you can even eat the seeds, which develop in pods on the vine, like small beans. Here's what's wild. Despite being one of the most important food plants in North American history, groundnuts are almost completely absent from modern gardens. Almost nobody grows them. You can barely find them at nurseries, which means if you track down a source, and they are available from native plant nurseries, you're growing something genuinely rare. Something with a history that most people walking through your yard would never guess. A shaded corner, some moisture, a fence to climb. That's all it needs. And it'll feed you from the same spot, from the same roots for decades. Top 12 Pawpaw. Let's close the crop list with the one that makes people stop and say, wait, that's real. The Pawpaw Asimina triloba, North America's largest native fruit. It tastes like someone crossed a banana with a mango, added a hint of vanilla custard, and then somehow made it grow on a tree in your backyard. The texture is soft and creamy, almost like pudding. It's so tropical in flavor that most people who try it for the first time refuse to believe it grew in a temperate climate. And here's the kicker. You almost certainly cannot buy one. Pawpaws have an extremely short shelf life, about 2 to 3 days once ripe. That makes commercial distribution nearly impossible. You won't find them at a regular grocery store. You won't find them at most farmers markets. The only way to eat a pawpaw is to either forage one in the wild or grow your own. Which brings us to the shade connection. Pawpaws are native to the understory of eastern North American forests. Young pawpaw trees actually require shade to establish. They evolved to grow beneath the canopy of larger trees, and direct sun on a young pawpaw will stress or kill it. Mature trees can handle more light, but they thrive in dappled shade and are perfectly at home in a shaded yard. They're cold hardy down to 20 degree F. They have no serious pest problems because the leaves contain natural compounds that insects find repellent, which also means deer won't touch them. They're one of the lowest maintenance fruit trees you can grow. Here's the historical angle that blows people away. Pawpaws were a staple food for indigenous peoples across eastern North America for thousands of years. George Washington reportedly loved them. Thomas Jefferson grew them at Monticello. Lewis and Clark ate them to survive when their food supplies ran low during their expedition. This fruit fed some of the most important moments in American history and then almost completely vanished from the cultural memory. There are dedicated pawpaw enthusiasts working to bring this fruit back. There are annual Pawpaw festivals in states like Ohio and Maryland where people travel hours just to taste them. And right now, while almost nobody else is growing them, you could have a Pawpaw tree quietly producing the rarest, most extraordinary fruit on the continent in the shade of your own backyard. Plant 2 trees for cross-pollination. Give them a few years to establish, and then prepare to share something with your friends and family that most of them have never tasted in their lives. Now, before we close out, let's talk strategy, because knowing which crops to grow is only half the equation. Here are some quick tips to get maximum production from a shaded yard. First, think in layers. A forest has a canopy, an understory, and a ground layer. Your shade garden should too. Tall vines like groundnuts in the background, medium height crops like ginger and turmeric in the middle, and low ground covers like miner's lettuce or sorrel underneath. You multiply your yield without multiplying your space. Second, soil is everything in shade. Shaded soil tends to stay moist but can compact and go anaerobic. Build raised beds or deeply amend existing beds with compost, leaf mold, and aged wood chips to create the loose, rich, well-draining environment that shade crops need. Leaf mold, simply composted leaves, is one of the best amendments for shade gardens, and it's completely free. Third, embrace the ecosystem. Shade gardens accumulate leaves and organic debris naturally. Don't fight it. Leave a layer of leaf mulch on the soil surface. It moderates temperature, retains moisture, feeds soil life, and slowly breaks down into rich humus. Exactly the conditions most shade crops prefer. Mushrooms especially love it. Fourth, use reflective surfaces. If your shade is caused by structures rather than trees, you can strategically place white or silver reflective materials, even white painted boards or fencing, to bounce ambient light into your growing area. This can meaningfully increase light levels without adding direct sun stress. And fifth, succession plant aggressively. Because many shade crops have shorter seasons, plant a new batch every 2 to 3 weeks. This staggers your harvest and means you always have something ready to pick without everything maturing at once. So here's the bottom line. Shade is not a gardening obstacle. It's a specialty growing environment. And like any specialty environment, it rewards people who understand it. Ramps that sell for $25 a bunch. Fresh wasabi worth over $100 a pound. Gourmet mushrooms. Cardamom, a spice more valuable by weight than gold throughout most of human history. Ground nuts, a forgotten Native American superfood with 3 times the protein of a potato. And pawpaw, a fruit so rare and extraordinary that most people don't even know it exists, growing quietly in the shade of a backyard near you. All of it in the part of your yard you thought was useless. The gardeners who figure this out don't just feed themselves better. They grow things nobody else can, and that's a very powerful position to be in. Drop a comment below and tell me which crop surprised you the most. My money's on the pawpaw because once you taste one, you'll never look at your shady yard the same way again. That's it for me today. I hope you learned a bunch, and I'll see you in the next one. If this story changed the way you look at the forgotten corners of your garden, please subscribe and like the channel. We are excavating the history and potential they tried to bury. Plant the future. The next treasure trove will open soon.